So in this skimboarding series video, I'm pretty much going to go over just really simply what I do for weather forecasting, the weather forecasting apps I use, and how I go about it. Now, I've spent a pretty bloody good day here at Pātaua on the Whangarei coast, skimboarding. Basically, with flatland skimboarding, it's pretty simple. The tide's just got to be out. I tend to follow trends and ideas as well as obviously a forecast. I say trends and ideas because I am a serial forecast checker. I check multiple apps multiple times a day, every single day, trying to recognize trends and really basically live a lifestyle that's built and based around predominantly a weather forecast. So the flatland skim, I will usually look at a Swellmap app on my phone, which gives you high and low tides. It's sort of the most immediate with all your locations. I pretty much go to that, look at the tide, work out what I'm doing from there for flatland. I just say tides for flatland because you'll pretty much know your flatland spots. 90% of them are a low tide spot, so that's what I'm looking at for flatland. Now with waves, it is very different to that. Most spots in New Zealand, now of course I am in New Zealand, I want to keep this very New Zealand specific. Most spots in New Zealand are, you're looking for a flatter east coast swell. Now we don't get big swell periods here in this part of New Zealand, sort of the upper northeastern coast. We're typically around 10 seconds, and what this usually means is that we get for the most part, I would say we get quite difficult skim conditions. We get a lot of condensed waves. We don't get as big a banks because my belief is that the swell periods are quite close, so we don't have this huge draw off any slope. What this means is that we get a lot of quite difficult wave skim conditions, and with a smaller swell period, the waves are usually, you will tend to recognize things on your local spots. So like most spots I'll go to, I'm looking for like a 0.4 or 0.5, somewhere around their swell, not wave height, but the swell reading on a Swellmap. Metservice surf forecasting is pretty good too, because they take readings from Swellmap and make it slightly more localized to more spots. And I do wind forecasting on Windy. Windy's my main one for wind, as well as Metvuw. So there's 4 different forecasting sites I use. I don't pick one. I am checking multiple sites multiple times a day, every single day, just to try to recognize trends and habits and things like that. Obviously with wave skimboarding, we do want an offshore. A light offshore is perfect. As an example of today, like today, I've had a light offshore during the morning with a forecasted onshore change this afternoon, and that they've nailed that. That was basically directly on call. And you're going to work your forecasts and your skim conditions. Typically, again, for a wave place, we're going to be high tide. Most spots are a high tide spot. This was really great here today from when I got here about 2 hours before. I got here about 2 hours before high tide, which was at 10:40, so I was in the water just before 8:30, and then it was good till probably 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then it looked like it sort of changed and got a bit too low. So that is pretty much just some really standard advice. I'm not going to say there is one best way to tell your forecast, and check multiple things. As I mentioned, Windy, Swellmap, Metvuw, and Metservice. Those are the 4 I consistently run through basically every day. And of course, work around your tides, your own forecast localized to your local spot. I can't tell you what's good at your local spot unless it's one of my local spots. And pretty much just keep yourself updated and learn. It is like a long, slow, gradual process of learning forecasts, but I think you can sort of get a lot of spots nailed over time, and that is the biggest key with forecasting for skimboarding. As mentioned, and like with any of these other videos, I do want to keep this fairly New Zealand specific, so please don't ask me about spots way overseas that I don't know where they are. It's pretty much useless. I have mentioned several ways to forecast yourself in this, so feel free to just look up localized apps and start learning about the weather, because there's no one, it's not like a one size fits all application for the most part. Feel free to drop any comments below about what you'd like to see here in further skimboarding related videos. You can find what I sell at skimboards.co.nz. I do worldwide shipping. I do a huge range of skimboards. That's it for me now. I'm Sam Price. I'll see you at the beach.